Hi. The other night when I was lying in Shavasana in yoga at my friend Della's class here in Chattanooga, I found my mind going back to all of these really negative, judgmental things that it likes to run over and run over me with, especially in the midst of really putting my creative expression out into the world, starting to publish my writings on my blog, which if you're interested in reading, I do link to in the About section down below. Starting to publish things that I've written over the past year and a half, and every time I do, especially with pieces that are more vulnerable and raw to original thought or feeling that I've had, my mind will tend to go to this place of telling me how terrible it is, that it doesn't matter, that no one will ever read it, and that even if they do hear all the things that they will say is wrong with it, why do I even try? It's pathetic, it's stupid, it's, I'm all of these, I'm a joke, essentially, in my writing as a joke, and these sorts of things. As I was laying in Shavasana at the end of this yoga class the other day, noting all of this, hearing that, my mind kept coming back to that because last, what day was it? Last Monday, I published a particularly dear to me piece that I had written a year and a half ago, and I've come a long way since then in a lot of my perceptions, and yet I want my blog to illustrate what the process has looked like for me. So I'm publishing a lot of things that maybe I've come a long way in my thoughts about that, and yet I want to show what I was thinking about it when I wrote it a year and a half ago. It's a piece about inequality and pornography and women becoming nothing but sexual objects should they choose to express their sexual power and especially get paid for it. So the piece is called Inequality in Porn, Vulgar versus Virtuous, and no in between. I'll link to it down below if you're interested in reading. And it was a very vulnerable piece for me to publish in a lot of ways. And so throughout the yoga class, my mental chatter kept coming back to how it wasn't good enough, how it didn't matter, feeling really, really vulnerable about having emailed the piece to certain mentors because I'd like to get it, to edit it more and get it published maybe in a magazine or some kind of publication like that. And just coming back to this self-talk that says, you're a joke, you're going to get rejected, that's stupid. How embarrassing that you would put yourself out there to people like that. Of course, they're going to think it's stupid. And these kinds of things. And I thought to myself as I was lying in Shavasana, how nice would it be if I had a life partner who I could go home to, who would say to me, who would hold me and hug me and say to me, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for putting yourself out there. I'm so proud of you for reaching out to ask for help from other people. And you know what? Even if no one likes it, even if it's not that good, you're on your way. And I'm so proud of you for the courage and vulnerability that it's taking to actually take your creative writing and put it somewhere where people can read it and say what's wrong with it, where people can critique it, where you become part of the conversation. And that's messy. It's not about having these perfect, brilliant thoughts that nobody else ever sees, so you don't know how those thoughts are going to do in the arena of ideas that are actually put out there and expressed. And just thinking about this lover holding me and saying, you're awesome. Like, I thought that what you wrote was so good. You made so many good points. Yeah, there are places that you can improve. And I just love you so much. And I love to see you stepping into your courage and putting yourself out there and being on the journey. Like, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what comes of it. Just knowing that you're doing your best. I'm so proud of you. And I thought, oh, that voice that persona also exists inside of me. The same way that this critic and this voice that, also maybe trying to keep me safe by putting me down, because it's safer to keep my writings hidden where no one else can see them, and to not get the critiques and the rejections and the, hey, you did this wrong and this could have been said better, as well as like the compliments, just all of the feedback that comes with putting yourself out there. I have this voice inside of me that puts me down and critiques me and rips me to absolute shreds. I also have this lover voice inside of me. Like, that was me saying to myself what I'd like a lover to say to me. And I know I've had thoughts like this before. It was just so important in that moment when that mental chatter of me ripping myself to shreds, which has been something I've been struggling a lot with lately as I'm putting myself out there more, when that was like happening in real time, and I actually in my body imagined someone holding me and, caressing me and stroking me and comforting me and telling me how proud they are of me putting myself out there. And then I thought, oh, like, maybe the critic is still there inside me, and like I can access that. I can tell myself, if I can tell myself those horrible, tear me apart kind of things, I can also tell myself those comforting things. And I just want to encourage you to know that too. Like, if super negative self-chatter and putting yourself down is something that you struggle with sometimes in those mental loops that play, I just want to tell you that, like, bolstering yourself up, maybe you haven't had as much practice at that, it's something you can access inside of you too. That, especially when you're doing things that are hard and, authentic to you. And yeah, I want to tell you I'm proud of you for whatever you're doing that is hard for you to do, that you're putting yourself out there and putting yourself in a place where, people could bring you down if they wanted to, where you're in the arena, getting kicked and bruised and doing the hard things, and also like you're doing it. And I think it's even more powerful to realize that is a love and comfort you can give yourself. Rather, it's a voice and a persona and an archetype within ourselves that we can access and nurture and ask for, rather than expecting or waiting for someone else to do it for us. Like, it's so nice when we find that. I also believe we will see that, find that, welcome that, access that more and more in our own lives on the outside, when we have been feeding and listening to that voice on the inside. I'm crunching under a lot of leaves down here. So I would love to know that you're listening to the lover within you at least a little bit, and maybe even as often, and maybe even more often than you're listening to the critic. These are my thoughts for today. By the way, for those of you who are wondering, I have started 2 new jobs here in Chattanooga. One being a carriage driver for downtown carriage rides in Chattanooga, and another working as a barista at a coffee shop, which has been super powerful too, since I've been served so many times in coffee shops, because I love to go there to write and work. It's really cool to be on the other side of the counter doing the serving and realizing what it's like to be the person serving the coffee, not just drinking it. It's also been really hard not to drink caffeine, by the way, working in a coffee shop. I just wanted to let you guys know that I am getting integrated into the community here, and in the meantime, still working on my shit. And I still think the hardest thing for me to do is to encourage and love myself and support myself through the difficulty of trying to birth my art into the world where other people can see it. And that learning to practice and nurture the voice of the lover within, I think, is part of that process that's going to make it sustainable for me. Because whew, I have a lot of stuff to birth into the world, and the critic and the put downer, that's not going to work in the long run. So while that might always be there, maybe I can also be listening to the lover and the encourager within me all the way. And let me know if you relate to this. All right. I love you. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you later.